Good morning, Boquete. And as Dr. Shannon says, good morning, Chiriquí. Say hello to Veronica down in David, right?
Hi, Veronica.
Hi, Veronica. You're listening to Boquete Now, Talk Radio, on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM. And as you see, we're wearing our thingies. This is the new scientific term.
Thingies.
They're thingies.
Yeah, the thingies on her face.
And we've got another two-part show.
Another two-part,
because
yeah.
And lest I forget, welcome my favorite recurring guest, Dr. Shannon Tour, to say hello.
Hello.
Hello. We are sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill and the ACCB Boquete. The ACCB will be my guest next week. Normally the last Friday of the month is ACCB, but there was some scheduling conflict, so they will be here. Hopefully, maybe we can get Linda and Joe on the show. I know Joe's been on the show, but I've been dying to get Linda in here, and she always sits out in the car, Linda. So maybe you and Mona. Yeah, you and Mona come do the show.
Linda and Mona.
Somebody from the ACCB will be here next week to talk to you about all the wonderful things that is the ACCB. But for now, and to answer that question that I put on there, when I did the promo for the show, I snuck in a little a little reference to Monty Python about the weight of an unladen sparrow. So
and what's the
airspeed? What's the airspeed of an unladen sparrow? And apparently it's 20.1 miles an hour or 9 meters per second. So there's your science for today. That's fast.
Yeah,
that's very fast. So, but there are other things happening in the world of COVID and our pandemic, and I know that there's been some information out there as well as some misinformation out there.
That's a everyday.
That's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Only
that's my life right now.
Only on days ending with a Y, right? So that's how that goes. But there's a new it's not new. The Indian
no, it's a
strain
new old.
It's a new old. So
yeah.
how does that work?
Well, it's just that it's arriving in our area, and it's probably suffered a couple more mutations since then, anyways. But it's got an official name. They were calling it the Indian strain, and now they're calling it the Delta strain, because you can't just classify it as the India strain now because it's gone to other countries.
It's kind of
it had its little mutation, little mutation thingies. So
thingies. That's really, it's such an just all-encompassing, usually my mechanic tells me, the thingy is broke.
Yeah, you need a new thingy.
You need a thingy. It's attached to the whatchamacallit, which is bent. And then you need to have that replaced because the doodad is, so...
Along with the thingamajigs.
Yeah, and that costs cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
it's a whole other language, I'm telling you.
It is. It's almost like Pig Latin.
Yeah.
We should do a whole show in Pig Latin.
We could. Yes. We'll have to practice.
Yeah, I know, right? I could see our texts all next week. Oh my gosh, we have too much fun. Ole, ole. But okay, so this new old strain is it how much more contagious is it? According to the information you have.
Very, very easily spread. Much more easily spread than any of the previous strains, apparently, from what I'm understanding. Yeah. Also, very easily spread among children, and it seems to be causing some more severe illnesses. I don't know how long we've had it here in Panama, but it is here in Panama. There's been some strains. I think we got the first strains here in Chiriquí, if I'm not wrong, of the Delta virus.
It probably came through the airport.
Could have, or over the border.
Yeah.
Remember, we're getting a lot of migrants passing through.
From Costa Rica, right?
No, going towards Costa Rica.
Going towards Costa Rica.
Actually, some of them are coming from Africa, as far away as Africa, and they're making their way through Colombia, through Panama, and then into Costa Rica, and then heading their way up to the States.
Yeah, it says here on one of my science sites that the Delta variant seems to be around 60% more transmissible than the already highly infectious Alpha variant, and that showed up in the United Kingdom back in 2020. It says Delta is moderately resistant to vaccines, particularly in people who have received just a single dose, and we're going to be talking about that.
Right, exactly.
Partial
But now there's a super Delta called Delta Plus.
Ooh, super Delta.
Yeah, Delta Plus virus because it suffered another mutation, and that mutation they're calling Delta Plus.
Well, let me do that here. And this is really funny.
Sorry
because,
for springing that on you.
Well, no, it's that's great. You know, it's funny because, and not funny, haha, right? But it's funny that you prepare for a show, right, on a certain thing, and then new information comes out like 3 hours ago.
Right. Well, this was like 6 or 7 hours ago that I was reading this, and I'm sorry to spring it on you, but it's a slightly new variant of the Delta, and it's right now spreading through the United Kingdom, the United States, and India.
Yeah, it says here, and this is from ABC News, CBS News, excuse me, New Delhi. Doctors and epidemiologists, I said that right.
You did.
And epidemiologists are closely monitoring the rise of yet another coronavirus variant that has been detected in almost a dozen countries, including the U.S. Concerned that the so-called Delta Plus variant, a mutation of the now widespread Delta strain, first detected in India, could be more infectious and cause more significant health problems than other variants, prompted Indian officials to label it a variant of concern.
So Delta Plus has an extra mutation from the Delta, the original Delta variant. It's part of its spike protein has mutated, and that's what attaches it to the other cells that it infects in the human body. So that's why they're a little bit worried about the coverage of just a single dose of vaccine. It's not that you won't be protected because it's just a slight variant.
But it's a little more. They said it's got a moderate resistance.
Right.
But not a complete resistance.
Not a complete
So your
resistance,
vaccine will still be effective to a point, right?
Right, exactly. It's not that it won't be effective against the variant, but we do have to keep an eye on it, and obviously if it does require a booster or something like that, we'll be told to get a booster.
Yes, the K417N.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of information coming out of the UK and out of India on this, and in spite of the logistics issues that come with parts of India, I mean there's a lot of overcrowding, a lot of misinformation.
Right.
There's a lot of traditional attempts of a cure. Using, I guess, traditional Indian medicine, there's been reports of people spreading cow manure on them and, what have you. But
right.
The medical, I guess industry is probably a bad word. The medical community, the medical scientific community in India is very, very modern. They're very advanced, and they're on the cutting edge.
Right.
Just as in the U.S. and the U.K. and in particular, Israel.
They're up there, yeah. They're really vigilant with the different variations.
So this needs to be taken seriously. It's not coming off of Uncle Ferdinand's YouTube channel. This is this variant is causing a lot of concern.
Right, like 40 to 60% more contagious, and also they're finding that it has a stronger binding factor to the cells in the lungs.
Okay, so
which means it's more likely to produce respiratory symptoms. Let's see, stronger binding receptors of lung cells and a potential reduction in antibody response.
So basically, the chances of getting really sick and staying really sick for an extended period of time, or as we both know, people who have recovered from COVID still have lingering
side effects. Or
symptoms, I guess.
Symptoms.
I don't know. I know
long COVID, long symptoms.
My mother-in-law, who's in a nursing home up in Georgia, Columbus, she got COVID. She's in her 70s, and she survived it. But we really, honestly, didn't think she would because her health was pretty bad. Mm-hmm. But the part of her body, right, that has never had any issues. Probably the healthiest part of her existence is her respiratory system. She's never smoked a day in her life, and she got COVID, and she survived it. But it's been probably 6 months now.
Sequelae
and
stomach, yeah.
gosh, she's hacking like a 3-pack a day smoker,
Yeah.
having trouble breathing. Doesn't get out of bed that often, and that is a lingering
Yeah.
effect of COVID, even though the virus is no longer in her system.
Well, and that's the fear with this particular one. We don't know if it's going to be able to evade the effects of the vaccine,
Right.
and that's a little worrying because if it changes just enough so that it has the potential to evade the
vaccine.
vaccine's properties, then we're looking at having to find
Another vaccine. Yeah.
rapidly or tweak the
the
vaccines
ones we
enough
have,
and
yeah.
and give another dose.
And I'd like to think that the pharmaceutical companies and the scientific research agencies are trying to stay a step ahead of that. Trying to
definitely.
this way here, if it does show that it is more resistant than thought to the current vaccines, and they've
Right.
already got something in the pipe.
Right. Oh no, definitely.
ready.
Before they even announced the variants, I'm sure they were already
Working
discussing
on
what do we do.
Yeah.
How do we prevent this from spreading so much?
And a booster shot might be
A
it.
booster shot, also continuing to wear a mask until we get the all clear that hey, we're probably pretty safe taking off the mask.
Taking off the mask, and they've done that in many places around the world, particularly in the United States. They've relaxed federally. They've relaxed the mask mandates.
Right.
And some states, are still keeping some of those restrictions, but by and large, they've opened up.
They've opened up, and I guess we're going to see what
The effects of that
the
are
consequences are, if
Yeah.
any.
Well, and I know there's a lot of chatter out there about this being a planned event and
Pandemic.
and a pandemic, yeah. And it's designed to do whatever, pick your theory, but it is definitely causing an economic impact.
Right.
For whatever the agenda is. I mean, we can talk for days on the conspiracy theories out there, or the conspiracies. Some of them aren't theories. Some
Right.
of them are are legit, but it still doesn't change the effect that this is having on the economy, particularly here in Panama. Is already struggling with tourism. Already struggling with a lot of the industries that have kept Panama, liquid, have kept them, out of debt, and
Right, right.
kept them to be a destination country, and you close down a country for 9 months. There's going to be effects to that, and every time there's a new variant or every time there's new research data that comes out, it affects everything, and I want to segue this into the people that are partially vaccinated, because I've noticed on social media, because that's obviously where all the world's information is. I've noticed on social.
Not always the most accurate information,
but nevertheless, right here we are. I noticed a lot of people who are partially vaccinated, meaning they got their first jab, have a kind of a false sense of security, and I personally have seen, and I'm out and about a lot. I've personally seen a lot of people on the street without wearing a mask, and I'm not talking about just have it down below their nose or on their chin. Or
Right.
whatever. Just,
No, that doesn't really.
I was in the pharmacy the other day, and a woman walked in without a mask.
Yeah.
And she seemed very surprised when the pharmacist, had told her to
Put on a
a
mask.
mask on. She didn't have one with her. She had to buy a box of masks. She wasn't very happy about that. And
They
there
must
was-
be newcomers.
I don't know. I don't know, but whether you agree with it or not, whether you want to wear a mask or not, it's still the mandate here. It's still the law, and you can still get fined for it.
Right.
So
Exactly. Whether you want to or not, whether you've been vaccinated or not, whether you feel comfortable or not going out in public, it's mandated
Yeah.
that we must wear a mask when we go outdoors.
yeah. Now this is really funny. For you guys who are watching on YouTube, you'll notice that Dr. Shannon held the phone up for a selfie for both of us, and I'm sitting there and I'm smiling and I'm looking at the picture. I'm like, I have a mask on,
But you can't
and I'm
tell.
wearing glasses. No one can tell that I'm smiling.
I think you could tell in my eyes that I'm smiling. You think you can tell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
the picture on the wall looks better than me though. You know. But anyways,
Well, you look a little blurry because I moved.
hey, I'll do one. So
Well,
you
I
know
said-
what?
I
I have
said
an
to-
idea. You know, we have. By the way, in our studio, we have Bolivar. And Bolivar is our engineer, and Bolivar has been the engineer here forever since I've been doing the show. So I'm going to hand my phone to Bolivar and ask him to take a picture. But you take a picture of him sleeping first. Got it?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Bolivar, picture.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna go look at the. There you go. And this is just because nothing.
because.
Nothing is better on live radio than
Interrupting
that-
live radio for
physical
selfies.
props. Yeah. Oh my gosh, never ends. All right, how those people, individuals,
Uh-huh.
human beings that have gotten their first jab and have not gotten the second jab. Did they have any protection? Is
A
it-
little bit, but I would not go around testing it myself. You
The
don't.
train ain't coming that fast.
Yeah, you just you want to still wear your mask. You still want to distance. Yes, it does build up over time, over about 10-day period or a 2-week
Yeah.
period. It's slowly increasing your immunity as
Right.
it acts on your cells to produce the immune reaction. But, you know, maybe it'll get up to 50%, 60%. You still got a 50-50 chance of
Yeah.
getting
Well,
it.
that's 50 or 60% of the percentage that the vaccine is. So, say like
Correct.
with the AstraZeneca, which is
Mhm.
about 40% effective. 40 to 50%, I think, is what they're saying initially. So that first jab will give you 20 to 25%. And also, we had a discussion about this, about the length of time in between the first and the second jab. Initially, Panama was saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you your first. This is on AstraZeneca.
Right.
It might be different for Pfizer. I don't know, and the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 weeks between your first and second jab gives you that 40 to 50%.
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying now if you wait 10 to 12 weeks
For the AstraZeneca.
for the AstraZeneca, and there's a lot of people here in Panama that have gotten the AstraZeneca,
Right,
particularly
because they're eligible to do
yeah,
it.
those under 60,
Mhm.
etc. Yeah. So if you wait 10 to 12 weeks, from what I've read, and this may have changed in the last 6 hours, that
As things tend to do.
yeah, that it puts it up about 80 to 82%, which is pretty close to the Pfizer and the Moderna.
Right,
and all
right.
that.
And it could even go higher. We're just talking an average. It can
Yeah.
even go higher than that, depending on your own body's immune response to
Yeah.
the vaccine. Of course, you always have the risk, which is another reason we're saying use your mask. There's
Right.
also a risk that your immune system is not up to snuff and you don't
Yeah.
form enough antibodies, or you're on some
Right.
kind of immune treatment such as prednisone,
Yeah.
or you've been treated for cancer and your
Right.
immune system's already
Or if you have other respiratory, like COPD, emphysema, things like that.
Mm. it
which-
might not be as effective.
It might not, yeah. And here in Boquete, there's an older population here amongst expats, as this being a retirement destination.
Right.
There's a significant portion of foreigners here that are over 60, over 70, a lot over 80.
Oh yeah.
And as the older you get, the more health problems you have. So you might feel good at 85 years old, and
And the lower your immune response usually will be, no
Yeah.
matter what you're doing to boost it.
So if someone has, and this is again, for AstraZeneca, if someone has gotten their first jab, just say on June 1st, right, and they say, okay, come back on June 30th. If they decide, hey, I think I want to wait, another month, or at least maybe another 2 months,
Yeah.
just to get that 10, 12 weeks in.
I don't think they're going to deny you.
They probably won't. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to deny you. And I thought they were now scheduling it for 10 weeks apart.
They are scheduling it now, but there was 50 or 60,000, maybe even
Right.
more, that had gotten their first jab.
Right, in our program.
In our program.
For the next one in a month.
In 30
Yeah.
days, yeah. So I wish I can give definitive advice
Right, I
about
don't know.
that, but I don't know. But use your, I guess, use your own discretion.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, Minsa is always happy to answer those questions.
Yeah.
Even if you have to bring a translator along with you.
Sure, yeah.
Go to the Minsa people that are actually giving the AstraZeneca vaccine and
Yeah.
ask them. I heard now that the vaccine is being given 10 weeks apart. I was scheduled, for 4 weeks apart.
Yeah.
What do I do? Are you going to change the date on my card?
Yeah.
Because they are finding in a lot of studies that it is more effective. It does produce more of an immune response if you wait 10 to 12 weeks after the first
And
jab.
again, this is on the AstraZeneca.
Yeah. Although the manufacturer still recommends
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's like, a bottle of shampoo, rinse and repeat. You can.
Right.
Okay, now here's another question that I was asked by a few people. I'm not going to tell you who it was because they didn't get permission. But
I don't need to know who it was. It was me.
If you, I did it. Dr. Shannon in the lobby with the pipe wrench. People who've gotten their first jab or even their second jab of, say, Pfizer or AstraZeneca or whatever's available here, that fly to the States have said, I know I've been partially or fully vaccinated here in Panama, but when I get to the States, I'm going to go to the pharmacy. And I'm
Right.
going to get the Johnson and Johnson. I'm going to get
Yep.
that one-shot deal
Yep.
because I was told that having multiple vaccines is more effective than just having the single one. Is there any evidence or scientific
Multiple,
proof?
not necessarily, but remember the Johnson & Johnson is just one and done.
Right.
So it's going to give you pretty much full immunity. They have recommended in some countries that are having trouble getting enough vaccines that they can mix them. There's been no real study on the effectiveness of mixing different vaccines. But like I said, the Johnson & Johnson is one and done.
Yeah.
It's supposed to provide the full immunity that you need.
Yeah, because it's people are have been telling me, hey, what, I just got my second dose of Pfizer, I've just got my second dose of AstraZeneca, I'm going to the States in a couple of months, and I'm going to get off the plane and I'm going to go right into the pharmacy and get my Johnson and Johnson.
I just don't know that it's going to give you any more benefit than you already have.
But if you haven't gotten your second jab yet and you're leaving the country, getting that Johnson & Johnson probably wouldn't be such a bad idea.
I don't think it would do you any harm.
Yeah. That's good to know. Like I said, this.
I'm not the expert though. Ask your pharmacist.
Ask your pharmacist. Yes. It's interesting because they're, mixed in with the glut of misinformation out there is obviously some valid information, and when you look at some of these the websites for the misinformation,
Right.
they look really legit.
They do.
And
I get suckered in sometimes.
And, well, look, it's the same thing with banking scams. Mm-hmm. You'll get an email from your bank says, there's a problem with your account. You need to log in and change your password.
Right.
And you click on the link, and you are looking at an exact duplicate of your bank page, and then obviously once you put your
Right.
login information, it throws you off, and then they've got your banking information.
Right.
And
Well, I got even a pop up on my screen from my cell phone. I was trying to get into the Copa site, and it warned me that this may not be a legit link
right.
that opened up, and it told me to close that and not, they might be trying to get my information. So I closed it obviously right away because
Sure, yeah.
when your phone tells you that, you kind of
Yeah, you do know that, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing with with anything really, anything, but particularly now, with whatever the agenda is to put misinformation out there regarding COVID, the pandemic, and whatever. It doesn't really matter what the agenda is. Some of the agendas are nefarious. Some of
Right.
the agendas are just because people have the wrong information and are, convinced that they don't. Not all of it is done with malintent.
right,
But,
exactly.
the end result is if you're on especially medical information that pertains to your health and well-being, if you're on a site that isn't legit, that can cause problems.
Right.
You know, for your health and obviously for the health of the people around you.
Right.
You know, you don't want to be carrying COVID, you know, back to your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Which is the main reason they have the curfews and the vaccines and all,
Mm-hmm.
and the quarantines.
Trying to protect the
It's just
community. It's
trying to
not just
protect the
to,
community.
you know, keep patients out of the hospital, but it's to protect the rest of the community, especially the ones that haven't been able to get vaccinated, especially here.
Yeah, and there's a lot. You know, I know that we read in the national news about all the places that have been, you know, all the, you know, the districts that have been successfully vaccinated with first and the second dose.
Right.
But there's a huge part of this country that has not been vaccinated yet. They haven't, you know, there's areas that are really difficult to gain access to. There's entire villages that you have to hike to.
Right, or they have to hike to you.
Or they have to hike to you.
And it could take a
Yeah.
week.
It could, yeah. And there's also areas that are resistant, you know, to government intrusion. And there's a lot of factors that go
Yeah.
into
Beliefs. There's a lot of beliefs.
a lot of beliefs, you know, and
Or suspicions, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
the logistics though of vaccinating an entire country,
yeah.
specifically, particularly a developing nation. They're wide. There's a lot of them, and
It's
you know,
complicated. It's complicated for the medical teams that are going out. I mean, I know some people have said already that, you know, the Pfizer hasn't even gotten to Bocas yet.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
AstraZeneca, yes, it's there, but the people that, you know, spend part of their time in Bocas, part of their time here, that already put the first Pfizer shot in because of situations, can't come back to get the second one within time. You know, they're asking me, can I get it? And I just don't know how long after the first dose they're allowing you to apply the second. I would assume there's no restrictions. They want you to have your two doses, no matter how far apart. But I can't say for sure what their policy is on that. Because, you know, like you said, things change hour to hour, day to day.
Yeah, they do. And you know, I know that's frustrating. It can seem,
it's frustrating for us too, as medical professionals.
And
we don't know.
It could appear, you know, all these guys don't know what they're doing. You know, but you don't know the logistical requirements.
They have protocol.
You know, to get from A to B, and from, you know, to do the what do you call it, the steps,
right, the
necessary,
distribution,
to get there, and the things that are preventing that,
and knowing that it has to be refrigerated at a certain temperature, frozen, actually
frozen. So, you know, if you're looking to get what we need to get from here in Panama City, we need to get this
to the middle of Darien somewhere,
or to even to Guniala, to the San Blas Islands. You know, getting from Panama City to there involves
quite a trek.
You know, you got 25. It's only 25 kilometers from Panama City to Carti, but half of that is over the mountains, and I've made that drive, and it is an arduous drive. It's like a roller coaster of potholes. Okay. And you have to get there a certain time, because if you're still on the mainland at 6 o'clock, or if you haven't gotten into the comarca yet by 6 o'clock, the comarca shuts down. You can't drive at night over there. It's just too dangerous.
Right.
And then when you get to Carti, now you're loading your vaccines on the pangas, and there's 365 islands out there. And I know there's only a portion of them that are inhabited, but there's no electricity, there's no power, there's no cell service.
Right.
You know, most indigenous communities don't have satellite phones, right? You know, they're $500-600 a piece.
Right.
So you're dealing with trying to get from point A to point B with all these obstacles and all these requirements, and then when you finally get out there, you're dealing with an indigenous population that might be resistant. You know,
and you have to deal with the dangers coming in from Colombia.
Yeah, that's very true too. The further towards Colombia, towards the Darien you get, it does get dangerous, and there's a legitimate, absolutely legitimate fear, I guess maybe is not the right word.
Concern
of piracy, of people, you know, raiding these medical boats to steal the vaccines.
Sure. That's why they're always going with police.
Yeah.
They go everywhere with police.
So, you know, it's I know it could seem like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing, but if you do a little research into what it takes to get these
It's
vaccines
not like getting it through to the U.S.
No,
You know,
no,
there are
no.
some hard to reach areas in the U.S. obviously,
Yeah.
but it's so much easier to communicate, to get
Right.
things done.
Yeah.
It's a lot safer. I mean, these medical personnel are putting their lives in danger
Yeah.
in some places.
Absolutely.
Also, not just due to violent crimes, but also landslides,
Well, yeah.
rivers.
Yeah.
You name it. They have to go across rivers. They don't have bridges.
Yeah. Well, look at look at what's involved in land transport to Colombia. You don't just one does not just walk through the Darien. And
That's my dad. He just walked through the Darien.
Way to go, Dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's
Shut down that theory, didn't you?
Yeah, I
No,
did.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Womp, womp. But there are a lot of communities here that are almost inaccessible.
Right.
And,
No, it's true. It's a tough.
and the goal
tough
is to
area
reach
do.
that herd immunity. Mm-hmm. And to reach herd immunity, you have to have a certain percentage of the population vaccinated.
Right. Not just having gotten sick, because having gotten sick doesn't offer complete immunity a lot of times, and it
Right.
wears off much quicker than a
Yeah.
vaccine would.
Yeah. Well, that test they give you, the antibody test. Mm-hmm. They had, I think it was June of last year. Mm-hmm. Or July, where they had said definitively, okay, well, we have a test now that can say whether you have COVID, but the antibodies only stay in your system
For 3 to 4 months.
for
something
3 to
like
4
that.
months. And I had gone to Atlanta in December of 2019. Day and I had went. We landed at Hartsfield Jackson in Atlanta, and within about 48 hours after I landed, I got sick. I had looked. The last time I got that sick was in 1985. I have a very, very solid immune system. And I got sick, and I spent almost the entire trip miserable. Several days I was in bed. I had trouble breathing. I couldn't taste anything. I couldn't smell anything. But no one knew. This was in December.
It wasn't. Yeah.
And and I'm not. There's a lot of people. Yeah, I had COVID, and
Right.
But, and I'm not saying that. I don't know what the heck. I
You don't
had,
know what it was,
but I know
yeah.
what the symptoms I had was. And by the time these tests were available, 7 months had passed. So even if I had gone to take that antibody test, and even if I did have COVID, it wouldn't have shown up. Interesting is that after we got back to Panama, Day got sick with pretty much the same symptoms. Mm-hmm. And then things started to develop from there. And I wish there was a way that they could offer you information beyond that. If there was another test that they could take, said, yes, you've had this, you take that's interesting. You take tests for things that antibodies show up in your system years and years later.
Yeah.
Particularly
Toxoplasmosis can
Yeah,
stay.
or
The
H-
IgG antibody.
But HPV that stays in your system for
but
life.
it doesn't mean but it doesn't mean that it doesn't get reactivated, that you can't get sick again.
Right.
It just means that at one point you were infected.
Yeah. Well, you remember when the first cases of reinfection of COVID came out, and they go, we thought that once you got it,
That you couldn't get
that
it
you
again.
couldn't get it again.
Yeah.
And this.
But there's a lot of factors that are dependent on that, including different types of strains.
Yeah, and the fact that the antibodies only stay in your system, you're immune for 3 to 4 months. From getting it, but you can get it again. Yeah, look, people get coronavirus is a cold. It's the same classified virus as a cold. Although it's completely different, it's still a coronavirus. How many
Right.
coronaviruses? There's hundreds of coronaviruses.
There are
out
hundreds
there.
of coronaviruses, and most of them aren't dangerous to humans.
Yeah, but look, you get a head cold, you get the flu or whatever. Just because you get the vaccine for the flu, or you take Theraflu, or you take Tylenol for your cold symptoms, it still comes back. And I think that point is lost on a lot of people, that just because you've gotten this once or you've gotten vaccinated for it, that you're safe, that it can never come back. And this is a nasty disease. Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, there's no getting around it. We just have to face it head on, and there are new treatments that they're investigating. What was the one I was just reading about? That it's an oral treatment that's supposed to help not only prevent an oral antiviral, kind of like Tamiflu type
Sure,
of
yeah, yeah.
deal, that is being tested right now. It's in, I don't know if it's phase 2, phase 3. It's one of those phases.
Yeah.
And they're testing it to see if it will work to help prevent or at least stop cases from getting so severe they end up in the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah. Well, look at the advances they've made in other diseases. I mean, yeah, you could talk about things like polio and all that, but look at HIV. Through the 80s and early 90s, it was a death sentence. You got AIDS, you were dying. There was just no way around it. Nobody said it had a 100%, mortality rate, and not HIV but AIDS had a 100. Once you advance to AIDS, you had that. Now, it is not considered that. There's cocktails
no longer,
you take. Yeah. So, even with the flu, right? With just regular.
The flu used to be one of the biggest banes of our existence that couldn't be controlled, along with things like smallpox.
Right.
And we finally got those under control, and a lot of places it's eradicated.
Right.
But there is still a risk that you can get sick from it, and you can get very sick.
Yeah. Well, look at smallpox. How many years went by, but you never heard of smallpox.
Right.
And now, there's pockets of the world where it's coming back because of resistance.
Or just people haven't gotten their updates because a lot of the boosters on their vaccines, because it's not a bad idea to go to your public health clinic and say, hey, what boosters am I due for? Should I get more boosters? Because there are the old illnesses that are coming back into circulation.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that has to do with, if something is not in the public eye for a long period of time, you kind of forget about it. So there haven't been, measles, smallpox hasn't been in the news for I don't know, 6 generations, 5, at least 3 generations. So people kind of forget about it, that maybe a booster might not be bad.
Right.
There's been a resurgence in the United States and in South America, I'm not too sure about here, but probably, of resistance to these basic MMR, the basic vaccines, due to spiritual beliefs. And this is causing a resurgence. So if you're an older person, in your 60s and 70s, and you may have had your smallpox vaccine or your measles vaccine when you were a kid, it might not be a bad idea to get that booster. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, like I said, go to the health clinic, bring your shot record if you have it, or just go in and say, I'm concerned. I haven't had, boosters for a while. What do I need to get? And what is recommended for me?
Most of us of a certain age couldn't find that shot record if your life depended on it. I have no idea where mine is. The last records I have of my shots was in the early 80s, from when I had to get, 8,650 shots before I went into boot camp for the Marine Corps.
Well, I got mine right there in boot camp in the Marine Corps. And I don't know how many we got, but they just lined you up like cattle. Yeah.
They should just put needles in machine guns. But,
just like 2 or 3 on each arm, and then a shot here, and then drink this, and and then go get your eyes checked.
But it's been like 40-something years for me, 30-something years, 40. I don't even know my math. Don't ever ask me a math question. I promise I'll give you the wrong answer.
Even if it's like 100 plus 100?
That's 180.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah, I won't ask you anymore.
But I don't know. I can't. I know I got the tetanus shot about 20 years ago. I know I got my MMRs when I was 6. I've gotten over the years in my youth.
Tetanus. When was your last tetanus?
Oh, good Lord, 1980.
Time.
80, I know, right? Yeah, it's been a while. It has been a while, but it couldn't hurt.
Yeah,
it couldn't.
They'll
hurt.
make you up a whole new shot record.
Yeah.
I had mine when I was in medical school because I needed all my shots to be able to do my rotations in the hospital. I got it. I showed it to the university, and they made a copy or something like that. It's somewhere in my room. I have no idea where.
Yeah,
it's got to be there somewhere.
And I'm sure if I, no, I can't even say that because when we moved here, we got rid of everything, and one of my daughters has a giant Rubbermaid box that we just threw. We'll just keep this, but it's like birthday cards and our kids' teeth, which I know sounds creepy, but
whose
you
teeth?
do you. My kids' teeth.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not weird.
But there's no official information. I know that shoved in there is a DD-214 and some other military stuff. But no
Yeah, I
shot
left
record.
my DD-214 at my uncle's house. I have no idea what happened to it now since he
Yeah.
moved. So
Yeah, and good luck trying to get it replaced. Cause
I tried.
yeah, you don't just go onto the DoD website
No.
and ask for it. You have to submit and resubmit and then
And
get
your
this and
your
that and
dates of service and all. Yeah, no, I tried to go through a private company and I never heard from them.
Yeah,
I
but-
paid them the money and I never heard
Oh
from
yeah,
them. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Bye bye $50.
But most people don't have their shot right. I could tell you definitively that my wife and I in that little Rubbermaid box have all of the shot records
Yeah.
for our kids. We have all their immunization records, but you didn't think about saving that stuff for yourself because we're already older. We have already been vaccinated for all this stuff. Why keep it? But,
Yeah, but you do need boosters.
So going to your here in Panama now, where can we get that done? Just say, for example, I woke up one day and said, I think I need a bunch of booster shots. Where should I go?
MINSA does it for free. The Ministry of Health at
And what are
the health clinic
What do
right
they
here in
give you?
town.
What do you know? What you can get? From them?
Yeah, you
Offhand?
probably get your tetanus, diphtheria,
Oh.
your measles, your
MMRs, yeah, and
I don't know if it's MR or MMR that they're giving, but they're giving one of the two.
one of the two, yeah.
The Tdap,
Now, what about dengue?
What about what? Dengue?
Dengue. Is that? I know that down in the Darien, they suggest that if you're going to go down that way, you get. But now I've heard
But there's, as far as I know, there's not one for dengue.
there's not one.
No.
Okay, because I know that there has been an increase.
I think
in that down in-
tuberculosis,
in-
but most of us have already been exposed, so
Yeah.
we should already have.
yeah, yellow fever.
Yellow fever, if you're going deep into the Darien, is recommended.
Yeah.
Or if you're going deep into like the border of Costa Rica up there by
Yeah.
Rio Sereno, there
Yeah.
are some other cases.
See, a lot of people, I guess, don't talk about the the booster shots because it's been so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really has. Do you know anyone that has gotten mumps, rubella, or the measles, or anything? Well, you would because you're a doctor.
Sorry, I do.
That's like you asking me. Do you know anyone who was broken a phone lately?
I know. I know. Yes, I have actually seen somebody with mumps. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, I have.
Yeah. So while we're aware of the COVID and the vaccine process and all that.
Oh,
and-
flu. Get your flu.
and
vaccine.
and the flu vaccine.
It's out.
And is
It's
there,
available.
Now, let's talk a little bit, because we got a few minutes yet. I wanted to ask you about these preventative things. What is ivermectin, and what is it for, and how does it affect your body?
Well, usually I give ivermectin to my dogs to prevent parasites.
Okay.
It's a very old anti-parasitic. They don't use it for a whole lot in humans. We do use it for things like scabies.
Okay.
At least here we do, both topical as well as oral. What are the side effects? Generally, when used according
Regularly.
to
Okay.
according to the manufacturer's directions, not using super doses, you don't have long-lasting side effects or
Okay.
anything like that. The problem is that in order to the doses that they've noticed that have been effective in treating severe COVID, and they don't even know if it's actually done anything, but apparently are very high and can have their side effects and need to
Okay.
be done medically supervised. It's not something that you want to be on long term.
Okay.
Every single day taking a dose. It's not something you want to be on long term. Hello.
We have a guest in the studio.
We have a puppy that came to visit.
That came in. Yes, only a pound.
Well,
So-
we're laid back here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what about normal? Okay, there's a lot of people that take vitamins. I take a omega-3. I'll take vitamin D. I have it and whatever. Is there these over-the-counter supplements that we can get? Did they have any effect on the prevention of COVID or any coronavirus? I know that vitamins are good for you. You take your vitamins
Yeah.
and what have you.
Yeah.
but super high doses of like vitamin D and
Oh
whatnot.
no, super high doses of vitamin D is a bad idea.
Ah,
That builds up in your system. It's liposoluble, they call it. It's not water soluble, so it doesn't. The excess doesn't get removed from your body by urination or anything like that. It stays in your tissues, so there's a buildup, and it can actually do harm to your internal organs.
ah.
Cause renal failure, liver
Wow.
failure.
Okay, so
In fact, my dad had a patient once. Not giving names, area, or anything.
yeah.
But that had actually been on super high doses of vitamin D. He was called in to consult, and because they couldn't figure out what was going on, why she was having multiple organ failure.
Yeah.
He did a thorough history, and he found out she was taking massive doses of vitamin D.
Yeah.
I don't think the prognosis was very good.
No. That would be Dr. William Tour, by the way, who is going to be on
Tomorrow,
the second part of our show tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll be on for part of the show tomorrow, or all of the show.
All of the
or-
show tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
And-
sure he's got a lot of good insight to, also on vaccines.
Yeah, that's gonna. I really enjoyed being on the show with him, and also in the background, usually via text, is your mom.
Yeah,
Your
she's-
mom's like a guest on the show.
She
but not really a
is.
guest, but a guest.
Yeah, she's like the I don't know, the invisible guest
The
over there.
invisible guest.
She does ask some questions, and sometimes we bring them on, and I don't give her credit, and I guess I should.
Yeah.
But she's a very faithful listener.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
But yeah, no. Tomorrow's show is I guess going to be a little more medically focused because it's your show. Talking with your doctor, by the way, every Saturday morning.
You mean this wasn't medical?
Well, it is, but you got two doctors on the show and a mom,
And a mom.
and
yeah.
technically three doctors, but one doesn't count, and your mom. So, but no, it's good. It's good to have your dad's credentials. He's an infectious disease.
No, he's
He's
an
a-
allergist,
an
immunologist, pediatrician.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
having that.
He hasn't done
perspective-
pediatrics for years, but
Well, neither have I. My kids are grown, but
no, but he keeps up with a lot of those things.
Yeah, well,
Mom says hi, Al.
that's what. Oh, hi, Mom.
You went to go answer on your phone,
I
didn't
did.
you?
I was like, oh, wait a minute, where's my mom text? I got a video though from my mechanic that I'll look at later.
No, okay, cool.
Yeah, but it's
To replace the thing you made.
the thingamabob, whatever it is. I don't
doohickey.
know. I know that my air conditioner broke about 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
And really doesn't bother me here in Boquete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't notice it. I never use my air conditioning here or any. But then you go to David and you're like,
well,
oh my God.
Wilson down in David does a really good job. Wilson.
Wilson.
He does, he's good, and he's reasonable priced.
Well, I know that when I drive down there without air conditioning, I can literally feel my skin melting into the leather seats, and eyelashes fall off, and whatever hair I have left on the top of my head, melts down. And
Well, you wouldn't know. You got that cool,
well, I got the hat.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
wear these hats because there's no hair up. I got the Gallagher thing going on. So,
Yeah. Well, you
know.
can't let that get exposed to all that sun.
Oh no, definitely not. SPF like 5,000. But yeah, no. With this, obviously, we're going to continue this tomorrow.
Yep.
With you and your dad, but it's interesting when you look at. And like I said, my kids I haven't had school age kids in decades, but you could not.
Decades. Your
you
kid
might-
isn't even 30 yet, right?
That's decade, 2 decades.
Well, okay,
might
but
be.
yeah,
I have-
but they were
they're
kids
in-
for the first decade
yeah,
or decade.
but
and
you
a
got a
half.
30-year-old, 2 decades. Oh, okay, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I have grandchildren now that are over a decade old, so
Oh.
I guess that counts for something.
When you say it like that, it makes you sound old.
I know, but I'm not though. I'm not. I'm still under 60, so I think. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you couldn't get the Pfizer. Could
I could
you?
not get the
No.
Pfizer. That's why I had to go down to David.
Yeah.
By the way, the AstraZeneca vaccine administration site was really well done.
Oh, and now they're up here in the feria.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really the way they routed you through and the different stops you had.
Well,
by
they're
the
used
time
to
you
it,
got-
cattle,
The what?
They're used to it, vaccinated cattle and all that.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like that, I guess. Yeah. But
No, but they do. They have the drive-through, and it's really
Yeah.
cool. Just like in the States, in the big stadiums, they had the drive-throughs and just block.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah.
It was well done.
And from what I understand, they're still up here in the fairgrounds
Yeah.
in Boquete.
It wasn't fun going through that without air conditioning, but still, you know,
Right.
it
I
was-
mean,
was
it
fun.
would have been handy if you knew they were coming up here and just do
I
it.
know. That's okay though. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, but you couldn't get your children into a public school without being vaccinated.
Right.
The only way you could do that is you had to have a specific exception approved, like for religious reasons. you
Religious
know,
or allergy.
or allergy.
Your
you know,
kid has a severe allergy to
but-
one of the vaccines. They can't get it.
But there
obviously.
were waivers out the wazoo that you
Yeah.
had. You know, school system is not going to be held responsible if your child gets sick or dies from
Yeah.
a disease that other children are vaccinated against and all that. But the general rule was for everybody in the United States, and I think maybe Canada. I'm not sure, but I know at least in the United States.
Mom, Canada.
That you could
Eh?
your child could not back bacon, could not get into into
Out and
public
about.
school without getting at least the measles, mumps, rubella. There was a tetanus shot, and not diphtheria. What's the one with the 4 things that
The TB time test.
I think so? The time test.
Yeah, that's just to see if
But
you
there
got
was
TB.
a- yeah,
but
there
you had
was
to
a-
get you had to get your TB test.
That was it was required.
Yeah.
And for the most part, people were like, okay, let's take your kid to the doctor, get the test, the Philly card out. You enroll your kid in school, show them the card, and boom, you buy textbooks and you're done.
Right.
There's a lot of resistance now to vaccines by people who have had to do this to their children. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there for whatever reason. Like
Right. And what was good for the kids isn't.
isn't necessarily now good, for the parents.
Right. Right. Now or.
Now, yeah, and there's a lot of concern.
It's not experimental.
Well, yeah, we got like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I'm looking at Bolivar. How much time we got, Bolivar? You got about 5 minutes? There you go, 5 minutes. That's good.
5 minutes works. 5 minutes works.
So what is an experimental
There's a clock.
vaccine? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's fast. I think it is.
You're right. It is. It's a little
What-
fast.
What is the difference? There's 2 questions, 2-part question.
Uh-oh.
First part
Uh-huh.
is not really relevant, but
Okay.
it came in from one of my favorite listeners.
Okay.
Do they perform titer tests here?
Titers for
Boost-
different.
yeah.
Probably in the private clinics. Infectious disease might do the titer test through the labs. I'm sure it's not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might even have to send it off. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good
Yeah,
point. Okay. And before we get to the that other topic we were going to get to, because squirrel. What's going on with the reinfected people at the hospital?
The reinfected people?
Are there people? That
Oh,
have been
I don't know if they're
reinfected?
reinfected. I assume we're talking about the population that was
had-
vaccinated, asymptomatic infections.
Well, the people that have had COVID once recovered and then have gotten it again.
Okay, no, I don't know. I don't have the stats on that.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers, how many that's been, or even confirmed. I know there was at least one confirmed reinfection. Some of them aren't reinfections, they are actually a new infection. How are they a new infection? Well, usually it's with a different strain of the virus.
Yeah, and
Or enough time has passed where it couldn't possibly be the same.
the same strain or the same
Same infection,
okay.
yeah.
Maybe we could.
It's kind of like with dengue. You can get a second infection with dengue if you're really, really lucky, and you should play the lottery if this happens to you. If you get the same strain twice, it can actually produce hemorrhagic dengue.
Okay, and what about the people who are vaccinated that have gotten infected?
With COVID,
With COVID, yeah.
they, for the most part, especially if they received both their doses, they were asymptomatic. They had no idea that they had it. They were tested because they were exposed to somebody that was a confirmed case. So they just went and tested, I believe it was the entire staff of the hospital.
Yeah. Now, do they have to maintain the 2-week quarantine? Is the same situation?
Oh, yeah.
for that?
If-
So that doesn't change.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't change. Even if you're vaccinated, you're going to be put in quarantine because we don't know if you can
If
spread
you can
it.
still spread it.
Yeah.
That does make a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah, because I know that that's another that's a concern.
Right.
A lot of people, all these people that, well, I don't know if all these people, but, here are some examples of people who have gotten fully vaccinated. They got both of their jabs. Weeks have gone by after the second one. And now they're
positive.
They're positive.
But usually, if they get any symptoms at all, and I think there were very few that got any symptoms at all, it was like a little bit of a sniffle.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a
And
cold.
That's, I would guess, would be the purpose of the vaccine.
Right, exactly.
To lower
So
the
that you
viral
wouldn't
load.
get, the only one that ended up in the hospital was one of the workers that refused vaccination.
Okay.
He ended up in the ICU.
Yeah, and that's a whole different.
Right. There were a number of partially vaccinated that came up positive that were either asymptomatic or slightly symptomatic. None of them ended up in the hospital.
Right. Okay. So in our remaining 45 seconds or 90 seconds, the difference, and we can cover this at a little bit late tomorrow, but what makes a vaccine experimental and not experimental?
Okay, well, that probably will take a little bit longer than the
So,
45 seconds. So why don't we just save that for tomorrow?
Yeah, because that's a big thing. There's
It is
lot
a
of
big
people that
thing,
they don't
yeah.
they don't know what the difference is between
Right.
vaccinated and
It basically,
unvaccinated.
just to break it down really quickly, it's something that hasn't been through the phased trials.
Okay.
Is
It
considered
hasn't-
experimental.
And it hasn't been
Approved.
by the FDA.
Right. It hasn't been given any type of
Have
approval.
any of the vaccines gotten FDA approval yet?
Two of them have applied.
Okay. I'm
The
guessing
Pfizer and
Pfizer and
Moderna.
Moderna,
Yeah.
And they're expected to get.
Yeah, but it could take 6 months before we hear that it's approved. They take all the information that they received from all the vaccinations that have been given throughout the
Right.
world, and they make a determination.
Well, let's hope that happens. I think that would put a lot of people's minds at ease.
I think it will.
And we want that. You
Yeah.
want people to feel confident.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being a skeptic.
No.
There's nothing wrong with being
That's a good thing.
suspicious. You want to ask questions.
Yeah.
And,
I encourage my patients to ask questions.
Yeah. And you want to have the knowledge that the answers you get are legitimate answers.
Right.
So if someone's only resistance to getting the vaccine has not been FDA approved, we hope that once these vaccines get FDA approved, that will ease their
put
mind
your
a little
yeah.
bit, put their mind at ease a little bit. So
Yeah.
anyway, we are pretty much about out of time here. I want to thank my recurring favorite guest, Dr. Shannon
My
Tour.
favorite host
And-
and recurrent guest.
And recurring guest, yeah. So tomorrow, part 2 on Dr. Shannon's show, Talking with Your Doctor, will be. I'll be here, and Dr. William Tour will be here.
Yes,
and,
you'll be joining us
and-
via telephone.
And Mom, and maybe a couple of puppies.
Yeah, puppies.
We'll be here tomorrow. You've been listening to Boquete Now Talk Radio on Radio Cherokee 103.3 FM, sponsored by Big Daddy's Grill and the ACCB Boquete, ACC Boquete. They'll be here next week. So just tune in. Them.
Shiny.
Yes. Yeah, shiny. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Pass buen dia, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Live.